Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Wingate Solutions. On today's video, I'm just going to do a simple breakdown on my EDC setup. So what I every day carry, a little bit of my philosophy on why I carry those items. So anyway, we'll just get right to it, right to the meat and potatoes of it. And in no particular order, I'm just going to kind of pocket dump and kind of explain why I carry what I carry. So we'll kind of start with what some people think is the most important, but in reality, it's probably the least used, and that is my handgun. So if you need it, it's obviously the most important thing you can have on you. So there is reason to put so much emphasis on it. Like I'm not going anywhere without it. It's probably the last thing that I would leave home, and I'd leave any one of these other ones at home, even though I might use them more often. So it's just kind of the way it is, right? But it's my gun, right? My blaster. So this time of year, we can kind of get away with carrying a bigger gun. I tend to carry closer to a full size in general. So pretty much the smallest size I'll carry is a Glock 19. And even that's a little small for me. I got bigger hands, a little bit above average frame dude. So Glock 19 feels a little small for me, but it works as a concealed gun. So it's either going to be a Glock 19, Glock 45 is what I have on. I'll take that off in a second, or sometimes a Glock 17 full size. Holster wise, I'm going to go back and forth between T-Rex Arms Ironside and a Safariland ALS paddle. Right, so this is not going to be very concealable. It works with like a jacket this time of year. This is what I spend most of my day in. So if I'm at the house, on the property, that sort of thing, certain errands I'm going to do, this is going to be one of my main squeezes as far as how I run my Glocks. Nice thing is it can take a 19, a 45, or a 17, so I can use the same holster across that platform. The other one, like I said, is a T-Rex Arms Ironside. So it's their outside the waistband holster. It's newer. They haven't had them out for too long. I really like this holster a lot so far. Good retention, has good adjustment for that retention. It's very slim for being an outside the waistband, but I just like to be comfortable carrying. So I'm a big fan on outside the waistband. Your miles are going to vary. Every body type's a little different, so you might not want outside the waistband. Appendix carry is probably the most popular thing nowadays, and that's a great setup. It's very concealable, very fast for a draw, and if you're safe with it, it's a great way to carry. I'm just not as big of an appendix guy, so I don't have anything against it. I just like carrying outside the waistband on my hip. So Glock 45 for today with gold dots in it. So that Ironside or that Safariland are going to be my main ones. That's going to slip right off my table here, so that's going on the ground. Spare mag. Carry that in a Kydex. Similar location to where I run it on like my gun belts, my overt belts. So full-size 17 mag with gold dots in it. And I'm going to run a full-size 17 around mag as my spare almost all the time. Belt wise, I'm a big fan of these core belts, the ratcheting style. I didn't know how much I'd like them in the beginning, and I still don't trust them much further than I can throw them. And that's no fault of theirs. It's just because it's a mechanical device that relies on a spring and a mechanism, it is a failure point. I haven't had one fail for me yet. This one's surprisingly been working for a few years, and it's just a great setup. Now, I get rid of their little kind of wraparound Velcro and nylon retainer for the tail of the belt, and I use an elastic retainer because that just works a little better for me. But it's pretty worn and patinaed and going strong still at this point. So I'm going to keep EDC in this as one of my main squeezes as far as my gun belts go. Very important to get a solid gun belt. You need something that's going to hold your holster up, allow for a consistent draw stroke, and keep the gun in place and keep it comfortable on your hips all day. Now, a crazy stiff belt might not be the most comfortable thing in the world. You're probably not going to want to watch, Netflix and chill with your girlfriend or your, significant other with this on, but it's going to allow you to comfortably carry the weight of a handgun and a mag all day long when you're out and about doing the things, if that makes sense. So get a stiff, reliable gun belt. Now, this is one of the ones I use. The other one I recommend, this is what I've used as a main belt for years, and that is the Segura Gear Company Emissary gun belt. Now, this is actually their original, and don't quote me on it. I'm pretty sure they were originally Alonzo Defense Group. That's how long I've had this. It's been a few years. It's pretty worn, but it's still perfectly functional of a belt because they have these brass inserts between the belt loop settings. But basically, it's just 2 layers of scuba webbing with a plated solid brass buckle. It's kind of a no-fail setup, in my opinion. Very simple. It's not going to have the quick adjustment that the core has, but it's not going to fail you. It's also not overly stiff. It's just stiff enough for me to carry a Kydex holster with. The other reason I run these belts is very slim line underneath, like a war belt, gun belt, over belt setup. I just did a video on that recently, so if you haven't checked that out, I'll probably link it somewhere up here. Feel free to go check that out and go over my duty belt setups, basically. But I like the scuba webbing style belt like this with a simple buckle because it's not going to break on me. It's going to last. This one I wore for a bunch of years straight, every single day, as my pants belt with a duty belt over top of it. And it's worked great for me. Every once in a while, I take a lighter to a little bit of the fraying. If something like that happens, you kind of just melt things back. But it's been great. I actually just retired this one for a new version of theirs. Again, that's Segura Gear Company Emissary gun belt. I like them. Not affiliated with anything I'm going to say today or any of the companies I'm going to talk about today, but I recommend these guys. All right, keep it going. Cutting tool, right? So this is a Kershaw Link, I believe. I like this one because it's probably the cheapest American-made folding knife I could find. Probably the cheapest Kershaw USA-made one, but it has the nice speed opening. I like to carry on left side for reasons. Got my gun on my right side, so I want to have a knife on my left side, even though 99.9% of the time ever, this would just be a cutting tool for everyday things, boxes, things like that, right? So it doesn't matter that I'm going to be using it with my left hand to deploy, but I just like to have it on that side. I like to have the pocket clip like this with the tip facing up so that when I deploy it, it's just a simple pull and I can hit that speed opening and it's deployed pretty quick. I really like this knife. I'm not a big fan of spending a ton of money on an everyday carry pocket knife because it is something you can lose. I've had these pocket clips get snagged. I've had them break a few times. Kershaw's cool because every time they've sent me a new one. Or if I've just bent it, I've been able to take it apart and rebend it back so that it still is able to maintain its effectiveness as far as clipping in my pocket. But yeah, the Kershaw Link, cool item. This one's a little patinaed at this point as well. All right, next up, tourniquet. I'm a big fan of carrying a tourniquet on your person. There's a lot of things you can do to improvise medical, individual first aid wise, but I don't want to have to improvise as my first option, right? So a tourniquet is important. Basically, if you need a tourniquet, you need it right now. Like you need it within 30 seconds, 45 seconds. You know, you want this on, you want a tourniquet on you. You're going to lose too much blood from one of those extremities to the point where you're not going to be able to function. You're not going to be able to then help yourself get out of whatever situation you're in or help others if there's other casualties. At least being able to get this on yourself or start to, then have someone else try to get it on you. It's going to give you way more of a fighting chance to get to that next level of care. So a tourniquet's something you need. Other wounds, you can kind of get away with maybe not getting plugged up right away. A lot of other areas of the body aren't going to bleed as fast, but your arms, your legs, your arterial areas like that, you're going to lose blood quick. So I like having an EDC tourniquet. I carry a soft T wide just because it folds pretty flat and it's a little easier to fit in the pocket than like Cat Gen 7. There's a few other ones on the market right now that you can look into. I stick with the soft T wide because it's got a good proven track record at this point, and until some of the other ones kind of earn my trust, I'm going to keep carrying this guy because it's not that bulky to fit in the front or back pocket of like a set of jeans, or if you're running cargo pants, throw it in your cargo pants. Soft T wide, recommended. I always have a light on me. I don't necessarily have a light on my everyday carry handgun all the time. Most of the time I actually do not. And that's for just like, is the juice worth the squeeze all the time with certain things? I would value having a lighter weight holster setup where I'm not having as much bulk to not always have a light on, but I'm always going to have a pocket light of some form. It's going to be able to be doubled as a gun light with certain techniques, and that's something for another day. But in general, having a light on you is always important. You can't just rely on the light on your phone when you need a light. For administrative things, sure. But when you need a light, whether it's working on your car on the side of the road or deterring somebody, shining this in their eyes may be the way to go. And also being able to see pretty far what you're coming across before you walk up on it. This is the Streamlight ProTac 2LX. It's just a Streamlight. I like it because it has that good form size that it's still big enough that I can use it like a handheld light. It's not a tiny little EDC light. It's a good sized light, but it still fits in my pocket really well. It's easy to get out of my pocket. Has a really nice pocket clip, so it's nice deep carry. It doesn't have a giant bezel, so it's just simple to carry. I like this one, ProTac 2LX. I run 18650s in it, and that is because I like having a dual fuel light, so I can run a rechargeable 18650. This one can be recharged with a micro USB or comes with chargers sometimes. 18650s are awesome. They're proven at this point as being reliable light batteries. But I can also throw two CR123As in here. So I like having that dual fuel. This is going to work for me 99% of the time. And in a pinch, I can throw CR123s in. So I can have those in my car, in a bag, obviously at home. But whenever I can always recharge this and just keep it topped off. So if you stay regular on that and you keep that as part of your, disciplined procedures at home, and, at least once a week, depends how much you're using the light, just throw it on the charger before bedtime, charge it up, throw it back in the light, and you're good to go. So I like having a dual fuel light. Just makes sense to me. They're reliable. They're reputable nowadays. They're not janky. I do not recommend having a light that is only rechargeable, though. Again, unless you're going to stay on top of that charge cycle. And then once it is dead, it's dead unless you have a way to recharge it. So I like something I can throw regular batteries in. And I got a Bic in my pocket. This is probably the one thing I forget at times. So it's not always with me. But it's all context driven, right? If I'm out and about, I'm probably have my car with me and I have things in my car. If I'm out in the woods, I probably have a bag with me or more extensive things and supplies to get me through a potential hazard that would be out in the woods, depending how far out I am, right? So it's going to be context driven. The lighter, to me, it's easy enough to have it, but at the same time, I don't find myself in too many situations where I'm probably going to need this day to day, right? And if I do, I probably did something really stupid and screwed something up on my own, right? So it's more of the rest of the items to me are like items that I may need on any given day, whether it's to stop a threat, cut open a box, to light something up with a flashlight, to throw a tourniquet on somebody. Those are things that you might come across on any given day. Having a good belt to hold those things up, super important. Carrying a lighter, it doesn't hurt to have it in your pocket, but it's just that one thing that it kind of goes along with some of the other like survival type things like compass, shelter, all those other things. Like they're great, but some guys get lost in the weeds with everyday carry, and before you know it, they're a walking tackle box, and that's just annoying. Now, if you want to carry all that extra stuff and you have a reason, I say go for it. It doesn't hurt anyone else, it's just you carrying it. And if you're consistent and carry that stuff every day, it is nice to have that and might come in handy at some point. But I like to be somewhere in the middle ground. I'm not a minimalist with my EDC, but I'm also not the tackle box. That makes sense. And wallet, work wallet. challenge coin. And I'm a big fan of running just cheap Casio watches. I'm the guy that I want less buttons, right? I don't want too much complication with a watch. I like it to be small, slim, simple. This is just it says water resistant, but it's waterproof. I don't take these off. Just simple Casio watches. They cost like $15 from Amazon or Walmart. That's what works for me. I'll replace it when they break, and then I'll buy another one just because it tells time, tells me what the date is. It lights up. That's pretty much all I need. I'm not really a watch guy. So again, that's kind of your personal preference. That's about it. All right. In conclusion, guys, I just recommend keeping your EDC simple. Besides phone, wallet, keys, these are pretty much just my main go-to items that I feel like I need to have in my pockets at any given time. And that's just my blaster, a reload, tourniquet, a light, and a knife of some sort. So if you have any different tips and tricks on how you EDC, please comment below. This is just a guide, just works for me. And anyway, I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, and give me any feedback on what I could do better or what you want to see next time. All right, thanks. See ya.